And good afternoon, everybody. This is Business Acceleration Playbook, where we are bringing you the plays that you need to win in your business. And Angela Buckley's missing today. She had another previously committed appointment that she had to make, but we did want to dive in and kind of introduce a new co-host. So we've been behind the scenes making a few changes to the show. Jeff was an amazing co-host, but he has some other projects he's working on that's making it kind of difficult to be able to continue working with the show. So Coach Ray and Angela and I were meeting behind the scenes and trying to figure out, well, who are we going to pull in as, a new co-host? And we decided on Chanel. So Chanel, if you remember, we interviewed her. Oh gosh, well, it's been a couple of months back, but yeah, amazing lady. I still I kept bringing up the fact that the Money Honey. I love the Money Honey. I love your vibe. I love, and that was one of the things that we had discussed, like the purpose and the why behind the show. One of the aspects we've been missing is that Money Honey angle, that angle that we're all in business to make money. Let's be honest, we are. Right. We're not.
Nobody's doing this for free.
No, we're not. That's not the goal. The goal is to make money. So that was one of the things that we felt was lacking in a lot of our discussions, was dialing it back to the dollar. So, Janelle, I'm gonna let you jump in and just say hi and just kind of introduce yourself just for a few minutes, and then we'll all just chat.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Chanel, and I always like to tell people I'm from Chicago. That's one of my most favorite things about me. And like she said, I jokingly call myself the Money Honey. And the reason why I'm so focused on the financial aspect of business is because most businesses sink or swim based on an understanding of how they make money, who they make money from, and then just keeping the revenue going. And I've always loved helping business owners refurbish what they have or create new products or just really get a firm understanding of who they are in the job market, owning that stake and getting really, really passionate about what they do well. Never been really big on doing more. I want you to do less and make more money. That's like my goal in life, is to get people to live a very leisure life wealthy. And so I've been working as an entrepreneur behind the scenes probably for over 15 years. I've worked in corporate America in the financial services industry. I have a deep background in politics. And so what you'll find when you hear from me will be a very passionate response to things, because I've always led with passion. That's what I did in politics. But you'll also hear very clear, well, what's the bottom line? How much does it cost to do this, right? Like, does it make sense for you? That's that deep, financial services former investment licensed professional that needs to know what's the ROI all the time. I'm excited to be here with you guys and to share more about me, but most importantly, I'm excited to learn about you all and your business. I only grow by sharing and understanding. And so it was just a no-brainer for me to join not only like-minded individuals, but people who are passionate at the core about the different aspects of business. So I'm excited to get to know you guys better and to see where we can take it.
Yeah, and I mean, we're excited too. Obviously, we're pretty unanimous on we gotta have Chanel. We gotta have Chanel.
Yeah, we were very unanimous about that.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
And I'm really excited to start diving into those financial questions, those financial goals that business owners and entrepreneurs out there have, because we all have them. And if you're not in the financial industry, it's usually a big hurdle for the entrepreneur and the business owner is, how do I, manage my money? How do I get more money? All the things about money. How do I ask for money? That's a big thing. It's like people will create this amazing thing, and then there's just like this block. Like then they're afraid to put it out there and ask for money. And, I think that those are going to be some great topics that we have, planned in the future to be able to tackle a lot of those things, because, as we've talked about, offline, the goal for this show is actually big. We've been kind of getting our training wheels on, kind of establishing, the relationships between the co-hosts, the precipice on what the goals are for the show. And, the big why and the purpose is for this show is to be able to really, help that small business owner, help that entrepreneur be able to excel in their business. And, that's actually sometimes can be harder, to do than it seems. And I think a lot of businesses that end up failing, I think it's because they get stuck and they're not sure what to do, where to turn. And if they've been hitting that same roadblock over and over and over, they might not have, and probably don't have, the financial means to be able to kind of pull in the help they need. So, one of my goals is to be able to, offer this as a resource where people can get right back on the right track, get on the right track, start using the resources that we're going to be telling you on the show to be able to start making some better decisions within their business to really help them get in the right angles. So then they can afford to bring in those people that they need to help their business thrive and stop surviving. Because I think that's the biggest thing, is that a lot of businesses are barely surviving.
Oh, absolutely. Or not even, sorry, go ahead, Coach Ray.
No, go for it. You're fine. Go right ahead.
I was going to say, more than just they're not surviving, they're not clear on how they make money, right? So yeah. I think that the older the business, the less they take the time to audit, and not like financial audit, but actually sit still and say, okay, what am I offering that people like really well? What are people buying together? They're still focused on the upsell or the new next thing, which is great, right? But sometimes you have an evergreen product that people need to start at so that it can supplement your other products. And so a lot of times I'll have clients who've been in business for 20 years and they have like a Cheesecake Factory style menu of offerings. And I'm like, no one wants this. You don't want this. What if somebody pulls something out of here that you haven't done in 10 years? It's like not relevant. Like one of my clients had a Periscope training on their website for $1,500. I don't have anything against Periscope, but I don't know that Periscope is the most accessible way to get your message out, right?
You're being nice.
Yeah. I don't even know if it still exists, right? I want to be fair. I'm not the most technologically savvy person, but the point of me saying that is, you have this here, and it's like having a AOL.com website. Email address for your business, right? Like there are just some things that just should not still be happening, and it's like right in line with, you want to talk about making money. You have to be relevant, right? And you have to be very clear about what's making you money. And a lot of business owners, especially, after 5 years, once they start to generate that revenue, they're able to support their family. They don't go back and look every year. And so as we're going through things, I know people are like, oh God, money. No, it's the mechanisms of the business that help it thrive or help it fail. It's more than just, failure is not always closing business. Sometimes failure is millions of dollars of money left on the table. Right. Absolutely. And so we want to make sure that we're investigating or like helping people think about how to do business best.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that money's the mechanism of the business, but it's the hardest thing to talk about. It is that and credit is the most difficult subjects to tackle. So by having Chanel here, it kind of focuses us, which is really why I wanted you here, because it really helps us to focus on the importance of why people go into business in the first place. You don't go into business just because it's there. You go into business to make money. So there are conversations that are going to have to be had, and they're difficult conversations. So it's not only broaching those conversations, but how to approach those conversations and what to do once you're in that moment.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be difficult. I want to make sure, I know I'm jumping in on every topic, but I want to make sure that if you're listening to this, if nothing else resonates, talking about money shouldn't be difficult. Scared money don't make no money. Some rapper said that. It is super relevant. It doesn't. If you cannot say, I haven't made any money this month in my business, and you aren't very clear about why, right? That's an issue. And I'm going to go a step further and say, if you cannot talk about money, you don't deserve to make it. Like, and I stand firm on that all the time. Like,
boom is right.
I don't know. Like, how could you ask someone to invest in your business and you have like this often arrogance that it's really just fear about saying, these are my needs. This is my standard. This is the quality of the work I provide, and putting $1 behind that, or standing on your quality, right? Talk about money doesn't have to be uncomfortable. My friends and I could tell you, ask me any friend, I probably know how much money they make every year, right? We talk about salary negotiations. We talk about products. if it's doing well, maybe do this to your ebook, or maybe do this to your course, or your coaching lacks this, right? Talking about money is often not specifically dollars. It's often in processes, and people are so afraid of being stolen from all the time that they miss it. Like, if me and you, all of us coach, right? And so if I was afraid to get in the room with you and I was afraid that you were going to steal my clients, the truth is, if they pick Maria, they pick Coach Ray, they don't want me in the first place.
There you go.
And you know what? God bless them if they found what works for them. They don't need me. I don't want the headache of somebody working with me because they think I'm cool.
Right.
I want somebody who wants to be effective. And so that's why, when we talk about money and it's uncomfortable, it's usually not money that's uncomfortable. It's a lack of confidence that people have in their abilities that usually leads them to not want to talk about money. So they don't look at their taxes, they don't look at their budget, they don't look at their bottom line, because they don't want the truth. And usually they know that they aren't doing the best for their business. And when you talk about the money, you have to get very honest.
But when something, when I mentioned that's where a lot of entrepreneurs are in their mindset. So you're absolutely right. But if we're looking at the majority of entrepreneurs in this country and elsewhere, that's what's happening. They are afraid of that conversation. That's why they're staying where they are. They're staying status quo, and they're not able to move forward. So that's something I know in our kind of realignment of what we're doing here. That's a focus that we're going to have. We've got to talk about the money. We've got to draw it out, and we got to get to it.
Absolutely. And I think it's those hard conversations, because it's the same thing. Sales is usually an issue. Marketing is usually an issue. Anything financial is usually an issue. And I think that is common no matter what the industry that you're going to have those. And you mentioned structure, Chanel. Structure is a big thing. It goes back to those, processes, of, what do you have in place? What do you have in place right now? What's working and what's not? Because I think that the reason so many people they struggle in those areas is a lack of clarity. And, it doesn't have to be, that hard. Early on, Chanel, you mentioned that you want people to do less and make more. And I think that's the key. I think people tend to overcomplicate, because they think the more complicated it is, the more money that they're going to make. And the reality is it's the opposite. Simplify it.
Right. You can offer like 2 products, right? I use this analogy all the time with my clients. So it's like McDonald's, right? At the core, what does McDonald's sell? Chicken, right? Beef, potatoes, bread, and sandwich vegetables, right? Like, we're all clear for the most part. Stick it to the main points, like drinks and stuff. But at the core, they sell beef, chicken, potatoes, bread, and vegetables, right? That's it. Now they make that happen into 40 or 50 different varieties, right? But they really only sell 5 things. You can get into the weeds, start talking about toppings, have a blast. That's not the point, right? But if you stay here with me, right, at the core, they make 5 things over and over again. They just offer it differently, right? And they stick to what they do well. And so as a business owner, you want to get into the habit of understanding, like, how do you create combo meals, right? Bundles, right? How do you do what you do excellent so that you are able to only sell 4 things or 5 things at the core, right? And then turn that into a revenue generating mechanism. You don't have to do, 50 different menu items to get people attracted. Just do what you do really well. And like you said, it's that clarity. But again, people don't want to audit. It's hard. I get really frustrated when things don't work the way I need them to, right? So I don't shy away from money conversations. My background, I spent, almost 2 decades now talking about money almost every day. So for me, it's second nature. But people, you are right, are always uncomfortable because you can't hide from it. You just have to, you got to go there. And often it's the communications, it's the marketing, it's the structure, it's the project management. It's all the things that people just don't want to, deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
That reminds me of a story. When I was younger, my dad ran a bus company, and he was looking for an investor. So he would talk to people, but he didn't want to open his books. How can you invest with someone and not open books? So he got a guy to actually invest $5,000 in his dream. Unfortunately, maybe a year or 2 later, the company folded. I think that he had 1 or 2 buses that had an accident, and he couldn't recover from it, and that was that. And the guy that invested lost his money. And I was very young at the time, so I really didn't understand and know the ins and outs and the crux of what happened. But all I knew was that here's someone that took $5,000 of their hard-earned money and basically just threw it away. And that's what's happening today. People are simply throwing away money. They don't realize that they have to resource it. It has to work for them. And it has to, money's a tool.
Yep.
And if you don't use it that way, you're not going to gain from.
Mm-hmm.
Just a simple story when you mentioned it reminded me of that.
That's a perfect example. I mean, and both sides of that story just ache my little heart, because investing money and you can't understand the books, right, is not a sound investor, right? And on the flip side, being unwilling to share information, is a thing, because maybe if he would have shared it with like that person, they would have gotten an insurance review and maybe would have saved the business, right?
Right.
And I think, again, when my clients come to me, they come to me looking for, I think, like a quick fix. And I always tell people, I am not a fidget spinner, right? Like, I can't give you some like really quick get rich thing. You don't want me. Like, you want me to spend 6 months with you going over your book, figuring out if the solutions make sense for you, figuring out, long-term strategies, so that when we do like touch points, 2 or 3 times a year, it's max value, right? Like, that's my goal. I do spend more time with my clients. Most coaching is like 3 months. Mine's is 6 months to 18 months. It just depends. A lot of my stuff is automated, so it's courses, but it's designed so that you can go back and look at it. But more importantly, you can't really fix a failing business in 3 months, right? Like, because you have to get the business owner over the, not even failing, a scaling business. You don't scale businesses in 3 months, right? I mean, you can if it's like a small business trying to get bigger, but when you're talking about scaling, people usually have millions of dollars on the line, right? And so it's just about figuring out how you help people sustain growth or even just downsize wherever you are in your business. You got to get really serious about the money. And when I talk to people about communications, they're like, but you said you want to talk about money. I do, right? Are you effectively communicating your mission? Are you expressing your value? Are you marketing to the right clients? Like, all those things translate into money. And so we talk about situations like your father. I could tell you about myself really quickly. My first business failed. I was arrogant. I was coming off of a very, very high point in my career and really unclear about what my value was. And I even tell people I would do pitches and wouldn't follow up because they were supposed to contact me because I was so brilliant, right? I wouldn't tell people what my price was. I would say, let's just get started and we'll let you know. I sounded like a shyster, right? But I thought that was like the cool thing to do, right?
Yeah.
And I could tell you so many things that I did so bad, and I kept investing money. And so then finally I ran into someone who I just knew I was going to work with. And I said, like, well, why didn't we work? And you know what he said, just plainly? You didn't follow up. I mean, I was devastated. Like, I had like lost so much money, and I really thought that like people had hated me. I thought someone was blackballing me. Listen, I went through an emotional time. Yeah. And when I finally got up the courage to talk about the money, right? I said, why didn't you work with me? All he said was, you didn't follow up. And so I was like, well, you were going to work with me? He said, yeah, we loved you, but nobody can understand why you didn't follow up. And I was like, oh, here I am, this person who like their business is relationships, right? Like, how do things relate? How do you make them work? How do they make money? And the audacity of me to go to these high-level meetings, asking people sometimes for over $100,000, sometimes $200,000. People wanting to invest, and I don't even follow up and say thank you in the email. Nothing.
Wow.
Well, I think those are some good points, and I think a lot of people make those mistakes at the beginning. And while you were talking, I was thinking about this idea that there's this statement, and I've said it in the past, fake it till you make it, fake it till you make it. But I think that does a disservice to you and everybody else, because if you are out there, and there's levels of everything that we don't know. It doesn't matter what level we're in business. There's something that we don't know. But especially at the beginning, we think that we have to get out there and just act like we know all the things, right? It's just like, we know some of the things. That's what we started our business for, but we definitely don't know all the things. And I think that we go out there, you mentioned arrogance, with this arrogance, this, well, if I'm out there and I'm arrogant enough that they're going to, think I'm, this big boss that you can make it happen. But more often than not, what that does is it ends up repelling people, and it also, you miss out on these opportunities to receive the help that you need to grow in the areas where you're actually really lacking, that you're hiding that you're lacking, because we're being all arrogant, but you're missing the opportunities to really connect with those people that can actually help you grow, truly grow in those areas. And I think I've seen a lot of people at the beginning of their business, and I was one of them. I was one of those that I didn't tell my weak points. Who wants to go and tell their weak points? I didn't tell my weak points, even though I had them. I didn't tell anybody. It wasn't until that I started really talking about those that I found, the help I needed in those areas that I wasn't amazing at, that helped me maybe not get amazing at it, but proficient enough until I could hire them in to take care of it, And I think that a lot of times these business owners, they start out thinking that they have to fake it till they make it, that they know all the things, instead of, being authentic about, the simple things that they are amazing at. I don't think anybody really expects anyone to be amazing at everything.
I would hope not.
No.
But something, there are a lot of people that don't realize the fine line between confidence and arrogance.
Yeah.
And unless you know that within yourself, you're going to project that. You're thinking that, hey, I'm confident I can go in and do what I need to do, but you don't realize you're repelling so many people from wanting to work with you just because of your presentation. Sometimes you have to take a step back, sometimes 2 steps back, and understand exactly where you're coming from, what your why is, and then continue down the path.
Yeah. And be okay with that. Like, sometimes things just don't do what you want them to do. I talked about my last business, but even my company now, I have put some things on the market that did really well, that drained me, that I no longer do. I put some things on the market that I just knew they were gonna take me to the Ritz. Okay, I was moving into the Ritz downtown. They'll give me an apartment down there, and that was it. And they did mediocre, right? And it wasn't anything that I think I could have done differently per se. It just wasn't right for my market, right? I wanted to do it, and I was lazy. I didn't do the work to invite a new market into my space so that I could end up at the Ritz, right? But that's okay, right? Like, I'm sitting here telling you that, like, I don't have all the answers, and I don't want to be the person who sits down and thinks that they know everything. I know what I do. I know what works really well, and I stay in my zone of genius all the time. If you want to talk about mindset, don't call me. I love you, but don't call me, because I'm not your mindset coach. My mindset is I am laser focused, and I sit down and I'm like a machine. I can work 16 hours a day to learn something and get it down and then apply it. That is not realistic for 99% of people in the world, right? But I know that that's how I do well. So when it comes to like mindset and that kind of thing, it's just not for me, right? But I know that. So I think it's just me being very clear. Like, yes, I'm a coach, and I can tell you that mindset is important. I can give you some tips, but it's just not for me. But I think that people really want to be, like the holistic approach. But the truth is, you should alienate people. So while you should not offend people, you certainly should say, I am somebody who only deals with 40-year-old single dads who, are looking to start dating again.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, get really clear.
See, you mentioned something that's very important, and it's the breakdown of your process, right?
Right.
So I know for me, growing up, a lot of things came easy for me. I was able to do a lot of different things. But being an entrepreneur and getting into this space and learning about what I like to do and how I like to coach people, I had to learn that. And it took me some time to actually leave people alone, have them leave me alone, excuse me, and learn this stuff to where you can become a subject matter expert, where you're not, faking for answers, or you're not fidgeting for answers to do things. And sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to just, look at things 4, 5, 6 times. I know I've had to learn to do that as someone in my stage, because when I was younger, I can look at a video, look at something, oh, okay, I got it, boom, good, and then I go out and do it. But now it's not that you've become less intelligent. It's just that there's so much more information that you have to garner and grab, and if you miss a piece of it, man, that can set your business back months.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people at the very beginning, especially, they're not, it goes back to clarity again, they're not clear on who their ideal market is, because at that point in time, they're broke. You just need money. So they're like, anybody that's going to give me some money, that's my client. That's my ideal client right there. Anybody that's going to pay me.
How do I get to that bag?
Exactly.
Right.
And that's something that is hard for people to kind of dial down. And it was hard for me at the very beginning, because I started my business out of my own pocket, so whatever people would ask me, who's your ideal client? I'm like, anybody that needs anything, I can do whatever. Because at that point in time, I just needed the money. I was needing to recoup all the costs. And I didn't even realize for a long time that, by marketing to everybody, I was really marketing to nobody. And I think that is something that can be hard, even if you're in the marketing world, to get your mind wrapped around, because, you think if you dial it down and niche it down, that all of a sudden you're going to miss out on potential sales. But, that's not what happens. I think we don't think about how intelligent people can actually be. They can figure out for themselves that if you do A, B, and C for this person, that potentially you may be interested in doing A and C for them. At least that they reach out to you at that point, and you can figure out what you want to do. Mm-hmm. And, that's what I found as I started to niche things down. I actually found that I was getting more clients from outside of my niche area than I was before I niched down, because I was being very clear at that point on, who I was representing within that business. And I think, it's hard to tell somebody that when they need the dollars, right. Because, they just see it, they're like, oh, no, I don't want to, because then I'm going to lose money. But, it's worked for me. It's worked for countless other people. And, I think that's a big thing, a big hurdle, as business owners kind of are going through their own processes to be able to kind of get their mind wrapped around.
Yeah.
And owning your niche, right? Like,
yeah.
I think that's also, like you said, that niching down, but also just getting really comfortable in that space, right? Mm-hmm. And so I know that early career professionals might enjoy me, but my confidence can be harsh, right? And so if you're 45 and I tell you, you're just not working smart, you're just working too hard, you can take that. And you may not love it, right? But you can take that and say, I'm doing this harder than it has to be. And you know what that means, right? Yeah. So you can dust yourself off and come back and want to work again, mm-hmm. right? But when you're 21, 22, 25, you're the smartest person in the room in every room, right?
Oh, yeah.
You can't help it. And so I totally appreciate that. I love that. I employ people who are younger than me, who keep me completely honest, on my toes, and well-informed. But my clients tend to be late 30s, like right into their 50s, because just the way I present myself and my seat at the table is because I've only ever worked with that population for the most part as a professional, but also because they want this to last. A lot of people own businesses and they do the corporate shuffle because they want to retire into their business, right? And so they tend to have a little bit more confidence. And so I'm always saying, like, who do you like to be around, right? Because you're trying to figure out your niche. We know what niching down means, but like, who do you enjoy working with? If you could work with this population all day, every day, who would it be? And why? Is it because you relate to them? Is it because you have the same socioeconomic interests? It can't just be because they'll spend the money, right? If you own a lash company, right? Like, do you want these lashes to be for women who love to go out on the weekends? Or are they for women who want a little bit of extra at work every day, right? Like, you have to get really clear about who you want to be around, because you'll spend most of your time filling orders for clients or servicing those clients. If you hate those folks, then business just gonna suck.
Yeah,
But
it
if
does.
you love that population, if you're a guy's guy and you want to do like a sports podcast for, the basement sportscaster, right? He knows more than Charles Barkley ever could about basketball. Cool, right? Like there's an environment for you that thrives. But if you hate those kind of people and you are like a leisurely, once a year, you really only care about the playoffs kind of guy, you want to do like playoff sports only, okay, you probably want to avoid the guy who's like the armchair critic, right? And that's okay because there's millions of both of those. You'll never run out of clients,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you have to understand, when you're talking about niching down, who are your people, right? Like who do you want to work with and who do you get along really well with? Because if you get along well with those people now, then those people will naturally have a confidence in your ability to help them. And it'll make it so much easier for you to be confident that you can help them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I know an easy way that I found to be able to figure that out is to think about who are you working with right now? Like, who's your favorite? Like, pick your favorite person. Pick that client right now that, everything just kind of lines up. You get along with them, the money's good, whatever. Everything is lining up, and just figure out how to talk specifically to that person over and over and over and over. And I think a lot of times that can be an easy kind of visual way of being able to hone down on your ideal client, on your niche market, because it can be kind of daunting. And you may find later on that you're able to have another campaign with another niche market, but especially in the beginning stages, you are much, much, much better off having one solid focus. Like you mentioned, laser focus, Chanel. I love that, laser focus.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had had a laser focus at the beginning of my business, I would have grown so much more quickly, and I would have not dumped so much money into the toilet, making these same mistakes and trying to figure out what the frick, I was like paying and couldn't figure out what was not working.
Yep.
I was getting clients, but not enough to cover all that I was spending marketing to all the people. So it's funny how you can look back like everything else that we do in our lives, and it's so clear. But I know there's people out there now that are listening, and if you're listening in the future on the podcast, or right now you're in that moment that you're struggling. You are struggling to even maybe keep your head above water at all. Like maybe you're like one nostril still above water, and I think if you was to be honest with yourself and pause and actually think about where you're messing up, a lot of times it's going to be just what we're talking about right now, just being super clear on who your people are.
Yeah.
Not only that, but I think if you look at the other side of it too, you take a look at Facebook and other social media platforms, there's so much noise out there. I'm the greatest coach there ever was. I can solve your problem. I can fix your credit. There's so much noise on Facebook and other social media platforms. You have to be so careful about who you trust, who you talk to, and who you pay.
Absolutely.
Because it's so easy. Okay, click this link. Here's a payment portal. You put your credit card in, and before you know it, my God, well, what did I get? And folks, you're not getting that money back. Believe it. You're not getting that money back.
Yeah.
So, just because someone has a great presentation does not mean that they are knowledgeable about what you need. Clarity is important for both sides. The coaches that are seeking clients, but the clients that are seeking coaches or people to help.
Yeah. And understanding what you need from a coach, right? Like I am because we talked about niching down for the business owner side, but as someone who may be looking for a coach, you need to be very clear about the type of coaching that you like. Do you like someone to walk you through every single step, right? Do you prefer maybe an aerial view? You need someone to just kind of show you what can happen and you can fill in gaps. Are you a ebook person, right? Are you a course person? Are you a course ebook on one-on-one coach person? You want to do most of the work independently, but would like to have some feedback. Do you prefer group settings? Those are very honest questions that when I talk to clients, I'll ask them, well, in the past, you've always done group stuff. Why do you want to work with me? I don't do groups. I do group trainings, but I don't do group coaching, like long-term group coaching. And so why would you want to work with me? Like, I don't fit what you normally look for.
Right.
And then they'll say, well, in college, that's how I used to work in groups. And, you start to see that they do the default thing because that's what they feel makes the most sense for them in their life and in their business. And then, I say, well, you meet with me once a week, or depending on the package, twice a month for 30 minutes. Are you confident that you can get what you need in those 30 minutes? Because outside of some thing where we're just in a flow, I bill you for anything more than 30 minutes. So please be very clear that, like, I enjoy my work, but we have to respect what the contract is.
Right.
And most of the time my clients are like, oh, no. But then they come prepared. They're more engaged. And I said, you can email me simple questions, but like, as a client, get very clear what you need.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then there are also times where someone feels they feel pressured to get into that contract also. Well, I need to do this because I need the money, or I need to accomplish this goal. It's one thing to want to accomplish a goal, but if you're not going to accomplish the goal and have it be satisfactory to where it suits you long term, step back.
Yep.
Step back and say, you know what, I need to approach this a different way. And just because someone is asking a question, excuse me, just because someone is asking a question doesn't mean it has to be in the affirmative. Don't be a yes person all the time. You have to make sure that this is right for you as a business owner.
Agreed.
That's a good point. And I think there's a lot of people, me, in the past that have been those people pleasers that, it's almost like living a double life. In one part of my life, I would be very firm, like, no. But then there was those people, those heart-tugging stories, or, I would go against my own boundaries. And I think, those are the things that start out slow. It's like not a big deal. You mentioned, Chanel, that you keep them to that commitment of the contract. That is so amazing that you do that. I think a lot of business owners do not do that. Now, again, minor changes, whatever, there's always things that can come up and change things. But, for the most part, if you don't respect your own time, you don't respect your own contract, you can't expect anybody else to either, because that old statement that you teach people how to treat you, that is true over and over and over, no matter what the relationship. So you have to really establish those boundaries. And if those boundaries are to change, that needs to be something that is not something that's a quick judgment, that is a planned change for a reason.
Yeah. And just be very, again, like you hit the nail on the head. Like, you're so good at that, at like summarizing things. And if you're out there just trying to figure out, where you fit in the world, I'd even go a step further to say, if you aren't clear, because I was not clear, for a long time, I was running a business based on a part of my genius, as you would call it, that I hate, right? I'm really good at it. I can do it in my sleep. Sometimes I feel like I do it in my sleep, but I hate it. And so I was doing it and I was making money. And it wasn't until I hired a coach and I was explaining what I did. And so she sat back in her chair and she was like, you seem miserable. And no one, not a client, no one had ever seen me so clearly. And I was like, almost emotional, because I was like, I am. And so then she said, well, why are you doing this then? And I was like, well, I've done it for so long and people seek this out of me, because online they tell you, what do people come to you for? Well, grain of salt, right? What do you want to talk about? I always like own what you do every day. And it was like just going through the process with my coach, I was able to say, I hate this. I don't want to do this anymore. And so almost instantly, right, like I offboarded my clients with new referrals. I would send them to other folks who do the work and love it. And I was scared that I would never make money again, because I've been doing this type of work for so long. And I didn't make money for a while because I was just so unclear about what it was about who I was in business that I loved. And so I spent a lot of time, I make money. Like, I can sell anything to anyone. It's who I am. At the core, I have a background in sales. And so again, like the money thing, I have no problems with asking people for money. I have no problems with articulating value. And like you were saying, Ray, when you were younger, anything came easy to you. Selling comes easy to me. So imagine being crippled by the one thing that people just see no joy in, right? And just how do you, because I'm sure a lot of folks are super intelligent, they were good students and self-starters. How do you even know what you're good at when you're pretty much good at anything you put your mind to?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's when you start to own it. I don't care what people come to you for. People don't like come to you for babysitting. That doesn't mean you want to be the next care.com.
Exactly.
Right? Like what do you enjoy doing? What do you love? Like stop letting people put the pressure on you to please other people.
Yeah.
Get really clear about what pleases you. And the rest of that stuff doesn't feel so intimidating,
Right.
because you know it's what you like, you know? And I guess maybe I'm probably upsetting a lot of people by saying the whole, what do people come to you for? It drives me insane. Like, but because it's like, I don't care what people come to me for. I mean, I do care. I'm gonna get in trouble for saying that. I do care what people come to me for. What I mean is, I don't run my business at the core. I started this business to please myself. Yeah. And I enjoy making a big impact. I enjoy helping people. But it really wasn't until somebody asked me about me that my business started being better and my clients started performing at a higher rate and they were making more money and being better people. But it was only at that point, right? When I stopped being good at everything, like you said, as a kid, and just got very clear about what I enjoy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think you can do things that you hate for a little while. You can do them for a while.
Yeah, you can tread water with that for a little while.
Yeah, but there is definitely a limit. And I think that is, trust me, I've worked jobs that I hated that got me kind of to the next level. And I think we all end up in places in life. But I think, the purpose of starting your business, like you mentioned, Chanel, is to get out of that place where you're doing somebody else's work, where you're doing something that you're not wanting to do just for a paycheck. And I think a lot of times, especially if you were raised with that 9-to-5 mentality, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you love, disclaimer myself before I get all the hate mail, but for the people that don't love that, the transition out of that, you're working that long to be able to pay, to be able to start your own business, you get to that point and then you fall into more of the same because you're still in that mode of people pleasing and, doing what other people are wanting you to do instead of really having those honest conversations with yourself of what do I enjoy? What do I want to do? Because, again, you can do things for a short amount of time that it's like, okay, this isn't my favorite, but whatever. But that shouldn't be the goal. The goal should be to stop doing the things you don't like to do, delegate it, delete it, whatever, and to solely focus on the things that are your superpowers, the things that you wake up in the middle of the night and think about, the thing that excites you to do more of. Because if you're doing something that you love, it doesn't really feel like work. And those moments where you start to feel bogged down again, and I get in these places a lot where I have to audit my own life and say, okay, I'm stressed out right now. Why am I stressed out? And 9.999 times out of 10, I look at it and say, okay, why am I doing this part again? Why am I doing this again? Why have I taken this on when it's been clear over and over and over, I hate this, and I think it's very important to have those conversations with ourselves, to audit ourselves, to say, okay, why am I doing something that I hate? Is it a temporary thing that kind of gets me to the next level? Or is this something I keep jumping into accidentally? Be honest with yourself on the why and make those plans to get back to your sweet spot, to the things that you're meant to do. Because I'm a firm believer, as kind of cliche as it sounds, that we all have superpowers and we are all meant for something big, something grand. And a lot of people, sadly, don't really end up finding what those things are because they're so bogged down with the everyday muck of all the things. And I think that's why it's so important to keep having those conversations.
Yeah, and I want to say something really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
Okay. So, being Maria, with what you just said, if I'm listening to this and I'm watching this, and I have been in business for a period of time, and I'm not enjoying it, and I'm not at that spot where I want to be. But I've been doing this for about 5-10 years now. So it's become habitual. How do I get out of it?
Well, I think that kind of goes back to, we hear all these things that says grind, hustle, never quit. And I think a lot of times those things could be okay, but a lot of times I think they get us into an unhealthy pattern. Sometimes it's okay to quit. I mean, if it's something that you hate, that is not bringing you joy every day, don't get in this mindset of grind, hustle, never give up, never quit. Those things can be good in their moment and with the right mindset behind it. But a lot of times that can also be very damaging, because then we feel like a failure if we give up. We feel like a failure if we quit, even though that path that we're on, we're completely hating, it's making us miserable. So, I would say, again, take a look at your audit. When I say audit, I'm meaning stop, take the day off, clear your freaking calendar, just really think about, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? What is making me happy? What is making me miserable? And, it may not be, a thing that you can stop what's making you miserable today, because obviously we all got bills to pay, but you can start making your goals, your path, your mission to get to a place where you're able to delete all that crap that you hate off of your plate, and to really solely focus on the things that are meant for you. And I think, we, as business owners, we can get caught up in a lot of these mentalities that can be very damaging if they're not in the right context.
Yeah.
And I would piggyback off of that and say, you're stuck, you're frustrated, you're probably depressed, you're feeling really emotionally divested, right? So what do? I would say step one, before you quit, even before the audit, what do you hate, right? Because chances are you don't hate what you do all day. And if you do, Lord, walk away, sell the business, don't just shutter, right? Sell the business, because if it's profitable, sell the business. And hear me again, sell the business. But maybe if you had a business 10 years ago, I have a great example. I love this. It's my favorite thing. So you had a business 10 years ago, and so we're going to do 2010 because I prefer that. So in 2010, let's just say Instagram today is not what it was back then, right? So in 2010, you didn't need an Instagram. You could potentially have a Facebook, but Twitter was probably more in line with it. But social media truly was not the business mammoth that it is today, right? So 10 years ago, when you were in business, social media was not a part of how you generated revenue. It wasn't how you stayed relevant. It wasn't how you validated yourself, right? 5 years ago, it wasn't what it is today. Today, you need to at minimum have a website, a Facebook, an Instagram, a Twitter, all the things, right? You need to be there and be present, right? So you have an entire new media hub in your business. But when you started out, there was no media necessary for you to be effective. It was no media necessary for you to do business well, right? And so if you're like me, I have started to love social media. I happen to apparently be good at it. And so one of the things I started doing was, I don't like technology. So I outsource a lot of things in my business. So before you go shuttering, right, consider, did I love my business 10 years ago? Yes, check. I love my business 5 years ago? Check. What am I doing now, today, that I didn't do 5 years ago? Social media. By all means, start small. Just hire somebody to create, post, and schedule them in Canva or all the other many ways. I'm not going to just keep plugging these businesses that make billions of dollars. But you can do that. There are plenty of task-oriented websites where you can hire people who can do good enough, right, for you. Mm-hmm. You don't have a lot of people, if you had a business in 2010, you don't necessarily need social media to make money for you today. You just need it for a social validator. And so outsource those things. That's a huge thing I talk to my clients about. When I got to update my website. Why? You can go on a website, message me. I put my ad on there. I'll tell you some resources that you can use that are less than $500 that can get that monkey off your back.
Exactly. So websites do not make money, and people have to understand that. Websites do not make money.
They don't. No. Only if you have they don't. But you have physical products. That's a different conversation. But
that's e-com.
That's right. That's a completely different. And again, if you do not enjoy it, you can outsource it. You can get college interns. They know more than you will ever want to know about it anyway. So get you some college interns. Summer interns now, they're absolutely free and full of time. It's not too late. Post on your local community college. Post at your local college to get an intern. And pay them. That was the other thing. No free internships. You have a business, pay people. But you can outsource so much of your business so that every day you're only doing what you do well, and you're constantly your zone of genius. You're not sacrificing creative equity, and you're freeing up time to be your best self for you. So I guess my answer was very different from Maria's. Maria's is just as empowering. I actually quit my business because I was miserable, and I was like, if I don't stop this today, I just have to stop. But I also learned that the things I didn't like about my business, I now also, so I have an amazing assistant who, oh gosh, she grows my business in so many ways. I don't know how I could survive without her. And it's not
Absolutely.
because she is doing what I do, because she doesn't. She literally does like administrative tasks for me, and she is excellent. Like,
Yep.
it is crazy how good she is at this thing that just makes me not want to have a business. Like, that's how bad it is for me. The things that she does are absolutely necessary, and I hate them. I
That's
don't
the
want to
same
do
with
them,
me. Same
but
with
she
me.
does them.
Yep.
And her name is Kristen. Shout out to Kristen. She executes
Yep.
excellently, laser focus.
And
But
I
you have
think
to
that's
do this.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very important. Yeah.
And that's one of my, and I say it all the time, and that's actually Stacy's popped up in here. She's one of the people that works with me a lot, and she is pivotal in all the things that I do. So I always love when she's popping in here. But it's that do, delegate, delete. And I think that's part of my auditing process, is to literally ask myself, is it something that I can do, I want to do, and I can do? Or is it something I want to delegate to one of the team members, or is it, why am I doing it anyway? If I can't really tell myself why I'm doing it anyway, it gets deleted. And it may be something that I have, and this happens a lot. Stacey and I had a conversation in a meeting earlier. I have a software that I purchased because I was getting ready to build it out. Well, clients needed something else, blah, 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 life happens. And, I'm paying for the software. So finally I decided, I'm like, what, that's on the delete. I'm going to use it later, but I'm not using it right now, so why am I paying for it? So, it ends up being, I have to constantly audit myself. It's not a, one-time thing. For me, I have to do it regularly. I make appointments with myself. And I audit myself on a regular basis, because I know myself better than anybody. And if I don't do that, I will be down that rabbit trail really far. And it's a whole lot harder to come back from that if you're not, kind of keeping yourself accountable.
I do the same thing, Maria, because if you're writing content and you're doing this stuff every day, you can get lost in the sauce fast. Yeah.
So, I mean, go ahead, Chanel, sorry.
I said, I agree.
So I know we've only got a couple of minutes left here, but, if somebody is, watching now or listening now, and they're like, wow, those are some, really good tips, and I'm stressed out right now and I'm not sure where to start, do you have, I guess I already said mine, the do, delegate, delete, auditing, but do you have any, like, today they can do this? Today is something that they can take that first step to change the outlook of their business, their life, all the things. Just, I want to kind of give Coach Ray, I'll let you go and talk, and then Chanel, you can talk for that.
I mean, if I were in that situation today, the first thing you have to be is not afraid to take a step back. And you have to have that mindset to say, you know what, I need to focus on me. Because if I'm in a business, and then you also have to realize that you have to work not in your business, but on your business, because that's the focal point of the whole thing. And it's when I'm willing to take control of that, then, the rest will come. But learning to work on your business and setting your business aside is the very first thing that you have to do.
Absolutely.
I think for me, I would say lean in. If you are stuck, if you're not creating revenue, talk to old clients, ask them what you did really well, right? And how you could do things differently. And if they were willing to work with you now, we're like, what are they needing, right? And so my suggestion would be sort of, get really clear about your clients and try to start to build around that. I'm a firm believer in touch points all the time, 2-3 times a year. How are you? What are you doing? What do you need? What do you not have access to? What's working well for you? And they will, even if somebody who you want to work with and wanted to work with in the past didn't close the deal, reach back out to those folks and see what they need. And I promise you, through that, it'll make you really clear about pitfalls in the market. It is actually, I did this myself, full transparency, and I was able to figure out 2 new courses that I'm literally creating as we speak, because they are gaps in the market for my clients. And so all of I have 3 of them who have already purchased a pre-sale for a product that doesn't even exist. And it's literally because I was feeling stagnant about some things and I wanted to grow. And I was like, well, I can't grow by myself. So reach back out to old clients or people who I won business. So it's 3 people, but 2 of those people were people who I wanted to work with in the past who didn't need my services, but are looking for something new. And I was able to gain business. So if you're feeling stuck, reach back out to your people, right? Get back involved in your community.
100%. I think a lot of people spend so much time finding new clients and they don't realize that statistically, we all know it, it's cheaper to keep them, but it's also way more fruitful. You make way more money, not only keeping your clients, but like you mentioned, going back to people who already know you, who you already did a great job for and offering something new. So, all this lead gen stuff's great, it's whatever, but the low hanging fruit are the people who already know who you are and what you're about, and that, you're willing to, go all the way to help them succeed in their business. So I love that. I think this has been a great conversation. I really hate that Angela wasn't here today. We missed you, Angela, if you're watching this.
Absolutely.
And Chanel, I want to say welcome to the team.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now we are all 3 outpowering Coach Ray on the woman power thing, and I'm kind of excited about that. I'm not gonna lie.
I have 3 pretty women to be with on every Tuesday, so I am very happy.
Yes, I was gonna say he doesn't seem like he's disappointed.
No, he's probably like, I'm fine with this.
I am not disappointed by in any stretch.
So, well, yeah, I'm really excited about, the future of the show. And, Coach Ray, before we go ahead and end, I do want you to go ahead and mention to the viewers and to the listeners just about Roku.
Oh, sure. Well, Impactful Solutions Academy is on Roku TV and Amazon Fire TV. We are bringing the Business Acceleration Playbook to that channel. So beginning this Thursday at 8 p.m., 2 hours have been set aside for the Business Acceleration Playbook podcast. And we're going to play probably the most recent shows in that time frame. And then we're going to work out other time frames for the channel as well. So that's where we start. Thursday night, 8 p.m., Roku TV. It's the ISA channel.
8 p.m. where? New York, Chicago, LA.
It's Roku TV. So Roku TV is international. So we're seen in Germany, Mexico, Ireland, South America, a whole lot of places.
Wonderful.
So that's pretty exciting. We're excited about that. You can also follow us on our YouTube channel. Stay tuned because I've got somebody that's going to start building that. That's another one of those tasks that I've decided to delegate. It's funny how we hold on to those things because technically I'm YouTube certified. I know what I'm doing. It's just I haven't had the time to do it. So finally, like, you know what? Enough is enough. I'm bringing somebody in to manage that. So, our YouTube channel will be getting a facelift, and everybody will be thankful for that, I'm sure. So you can follow us on YouTube. And stay tuned on Facebook, on the Business Acceleration Facebook page. We'll be dropping some more information about Roku and about all the things that we have coming up. And again, we will be on next week on Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And I thank everybody for listening. And Chanel, welcome to the team again. And Coach Ray, as usual.
Welcome, Chi-Town.
Yeah.
Thank you. I love it.
All right. And next week, make sure you tune in. We will be dropping who our guest will be later this week. And I want to say, miss you, Angela, one more time. But thank you all. See you all later.